From WPBF 25, this is On the Record.
Joining me now is Kim Wald of the American Association of Justice's Child Sex Abuse Litigation Group. She's a member of the National Crime Victim Bar Association and works as a lawyer representing victims of sexual assault. And Kimberly, first, thank you for joining us today to talk about this. You fight for victims in civil court. What's your goal as a lawyer in these cases that you take?
So our goal is to hold whoever is accountable. You know, there is both a criminal and a civil justice system. In the civil justice system, we can actually make change. We can change laws. We can change systemic problems in institutions through lawsuits, through going to the legislature and actually helping these victims prepare through the process, helping them emotionally get through this, going to their physicians, and helping them also be advocates for other victims in the community.
When you are approaching a case like this and you have to talk with a family of a victim of child sexual abuse, what are the discussions like? What advice do you give them? What are those talks like?
So those are obviously very difficult talks to have with any potential client. And, you know, us at our law firm and many attorneys that handle these cases, we have a trauma-informed practice. And the last thing we as attorneys want to do is have the clients go through that process as they're explaining these cases to us. So we really listen to the clients, see what they want from this process, and kind of explain to them how the process is going to work and how we can help guide them step by step and really be their advocates, because when they come to us, they're in such a vulnerable position that they need to know that someone's going to be by their side, fighting with them every step of the way.
And I'm sure it can be difficult for some of these families to realize or come to grips with the fact that their child has been sexually abused.
Absolutely. You know, it is very difficult, especially if you're a parent in that situation. There's a lot of guilt, unfortunately, that is associated with that. And we help coach the parents and the guardians through that as well, that predators are out there and they are very good. They're very good at what they do. That's how they get away with these crimes. And so you're not necessarily a bad parent. You're not necessarily doing anything wrong if this happens to your child. The fact that you're reaching out and getting help, that is the most important thing.
And I know you represent these families and the young victims in civil court with lawsuits filed against school boards or districts, private entities, summer camps. Beyond all that, maybe through these cases even, what can be done, you touched on it, to help these abuse victims, but then also help prevent abuse further down the line?
You know, what we've learned is in the civil court system, we really can make a difference, because once an organization has to reach into their own pocketbooks, they then all of a sudden start making changes. They'll start vetting their counselors or their volunteers more. They're going to create actual guidelines and programs to have training for their employees. We also are able to help our victims advocate in the legislature, both on a state and a federal level, to have some additional protections put in place. You know, recently in Florida, we were able to codify sex trafficking, and in Florida now there is actually a civil lawsuit that you can bring on behalf of a victim of sex trafficking for adult theater. So there's a lot you can do on the civil aspect, both by the financial gain and also by helping advocates in the legislature and actually changing the laws that we all abide by every day.
Can we talk a little bit about predators themselves, maybe including those targeting young victims gravitating to some organizations, groups, teams, even religious institutions seeking their victims? Why is that? I mean, obviously it is a very thought out process for these criminals.
You know, unfortunately, based on our experience, the reason they're gravitating towards those is because it's an easy target. And it's horrible to say that, but it is. You know, you have a group of very vulnerable members of our society, children, that are gravitating towards these institutions, the Boy Scouts, the troubled teen camps, the other religious institutions, and they're seeking that help. They're seeking that guidance. And predators recognize that. They understand that, and they want to go to a place that they can get away with their crime. That's why they are really interested in some of these organizations, because they have targets there that unfortunately are very easy to pick off because we don't have enough protections put in place, and that's really our goal, is to put those protections to raise awareness so that we can end this systemic epidemic really in our community and our society.
And let's address that as the final question, and that is the next steps here. As a litigator, what else do you see that can be done? You've mentioned some of the steps that have been taken, but as someone who's there on the front lines in civil court on these cases, what else would you want to see now?
Well, what I want to see is more awareness. What we're doing right now is we're talking about it. These type of crimes, these type of horrible assaults cannot just be talked about behind closed doors. We need to be on the front lines, on Capitol Hill, up in Tallahassee, up in DC, fighting for these victims, both in and out of the courtroom, because if we don't, we're going to see history repeat itself. And enough is enough. It is time now to take a stance and to be vocal, and that is what is going to cause a meaningful change in this horrible epidemic.
Hopefully through your work and maybe even a little bit through this program today, we'll help move that along. Attorney Kim Wald, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.